And it is time for some cool space news with Rod Pyle. The website, pylebooks.com, P-Y-L-E books.com. You have written so many. And your podcast, Cool Space News, wherever podcasts are obtained. I recommend the iHeartRadio app. Welcome to the show, Rod.
Commercial fire system in compliance, so you're up to code.
Hello?
Hi, what was that? Did you hear the thing about something compliance, so you're up to code? No? Rod, do you hear me? Okay, we are having some kind of technical difficulties, it looks like. I heard Rod for a second. I also heard some kind of weird audio that was from a recorded, might have been an ad or something, about bringing something up to compliance to comply with code. It was, I think, Clay Rowe's voice on some recorded thing. Rod, do you hear me now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fine. Very professional here at KFI.
Excellent.
So let's talk about this Inspiration 4 launch mission. There's a launch window today that starts about, 5 p.m. Pacific time or so?
Yeah, just after 5, yeah.
All right, so what is it? Who's on it? What is it doing? And why is it different than the Bezos flight and the Branson flight that we had in July?
Perfect question. Thank you. So you set me up just right. It is so different, it's hard to express. So those were both exciting. You know, first of the Billionaires Boys Club, getting their rockets up in the air, suborbital flights. Branson went up to about 52 miles. Bezos went up to about 62 miles, which is impressive. But these are flights in the atmosphere for the most part, and they're just hops. You know, these are tourist flights. The Inspiration 4 mission is not only using SpaceX orbital hardware, it's using previously flown SpaceX orbital hardware. This was used for the second crewed mission up to the space station a number of months ago on the Crew Dragon capsule. And it's a crew of 4 people, critically Jarek Isaacman, who's a 38-year-old billionaire, who's the self-appointed mission commander, who bought this flight from SpaceX. He just called him up and said, look, what's it cost to buy a flight into orbit on your capsule? And they said, $55-60 million. He said, great. I want to buy it for charity for St. Jude's Hospital. And then he selected one other crew member, Haley Arsenault, who is a med tech at St. Jude's, as a crew member. And then there was a competition for 2 others, one of which is Cyan Proctor, who's 51, a woman who's got a degree in geoscience and science education, born in Guam, and Chris Sombrowski, who's a data engineer at Lockheed Martin, who is an Air Force veteran. What's interesting about this, though, is none of these people are astronauts. There is no astronaut on this flight. So among the many firsts, it's your first all-civilian flight in orbit, first flight ever without an astronaut aboard, first time private civilians will be going to space without any of them going to the space station, first time that they'll have private civilians doing a splashdown, and a bunch of other stuff. So they'll be up there for 3 days, and they've got on the front of the capsule, instead of the usual docking hatch, they've got a beautiful big plexiglass dome sitting, interestingly enough, right above the toilet. Bill would love that, where they get to stare at the Earth rotating underneath them for that 3 days.
Okay, who was the astronaut with Bezos? That was Wally Funk, was the astronaut?
She was actually not an astronaut. She was part of this group, what they called the Mercury 13, that are women, that the clinic that did the evaluative work on the Mercury astronauts also looked at these 13 women as if they were going to be astronauts, but they never were. But yeah, she was the closest they came.
Okay. Oh, wait, I get it. This is the first thing with no astronaut that's actually going into outer space.
Into orbit.
Got it. Because the Bezos flight and the Branson flight, they didn't have astronauts on them, but they also didn't really go into outer space.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't say that quite right.
No, I get it. It was I got confused in my own
head. And the thing is,
with
with Bezos and Branson, those flights have to come home, right? They're only up there as long as there's some kind of propulsion or momentum moving that keeps them going, and then they're going to fall back to Earth. This one's going to orbit where it could stay forever. It's also going to really high orbit. It's going way up above the space station, so it's the highest orbit anybody's gone to since 2009 when they were servicing the Hubble.
And they're going to go around the planet a few times? Is that what they're going to do?
3 days, so once around every 90 minutes. Yeah. So this is a long time to be up there, especially if this is something you've never done before. So they're all rookies. So they've had some training with SpaceX, and they know what buttons to push and what to do if something goes wrong. At least two of them do. But it's so many firsts. But I think the nicest first for somebody like me looking at this is, not all of us can be billionaires, but other than that, these are normal folks. When they did this wonderful little mini documentary on Netflix about this, and they showed the reveal moments, when SpaceX called these people to say, hey, you're going to go to space, you won the competition and all that. Haley Arsenault is very cool. She says, oh, are we going to the moon? And they said, no, you're just going to orbit. But it was cute.
Now, is it called Inspiration 4 because of the 4 people, or was there an Inspiration 1, 2, and 3?
No, it's because of the 4 people, and the whole idea behind this was Isaacman's desire to do more charitable work for St. Jude's and combine it with something that he loved, which is aviation. I mean, this guy, he dropped out of high school when he was 15. He did end up finishing with a GED, but he dropped out when he was 15 to sell credit card processing terminals out of his basement. But he also started buying military jets as soon as he made money. He owned at one point 100 of them. It was the largest private air force apparently in the world. So he's been very dedicated to this whole idea of flight all his life, and this is a way to combine his two passions.
Okay. Hey, listen, let's do this. Let's get a news update from Jennifer Jones-Lee. And then when we come back, I want to talk to you. They're not just going to go up in the thing and fly around the planet for 3 days while sitting on their hands or playing tiddlywinks, right? They're going to be doing stuff. There's other stuff going into this capsule with them, so you can tell us what's going to happen while they're going around the planet. And we're talking to Rod Pyle now of the podcast Cool Space News and the website pylebooks.com, Pyle. Inspiration 4 has a 5-hour launch window starting about 5 o'clock Pacific time, sending up 4 civilians. And they're going to orbit the Earth for 3 days. They're going to actually go into outer space, unlike Branson, unlike Bezos. While they're orbiting the Earth, Ron, what are they going to be doing? Rod, sorry. I don't know, I called you.
That's a problem. They're going to be, of course, there is a tourist component. They're going to be hanging out and enjoying themselves a little bit. They're going to be doing a fair amount of media because this, of course, being a mission for charity, that's the whole point, is to gain some traction for St. Jude's and for the mission itself. But they've also got a bunch of science they're going to be doing. So they're working with NASA to perform balance and perception tests and so forth before they go up and then while they're there. That's something we've done before. So it's valid, but it's not new. They are also going to be doing, when they get back, they'll be testing their chromosomes and their blood work and doing comparisons between that and the year-long study that was done at the space station between the 2 astronaut Kelly brothers, Scott and Mark Kelly, which showed us a shortening of certain chromosomes, the telomeres markedly, and so forth. So they'll be doing a little bit of that. But I think what's most interesting is the tracking they'll be doing while this crew of 4 is inside the spacecraft. So they'll be watching their sleeping heart rate. They'll be watching their interaction with the capsule environment, a number of different levels. And why that's interesting is this will be the longest continuous time people have spent inside that capsule together. So if you're wanting to learn more about the dynamics of how the crew responds to that capsule over time, say you're going to send them out to the moon in a Crew Dragon at some point, this is one way to do that. And mind you, it's a smallish environment. It's 330 cubic feet, and they're going to be up for 3 days. But compare that to the Gemini 7 flight back in the 1960s, where 2 astronauts spent 14 days inside 80 cubic feet, and this one doesn't look so bad.
No, not at all. Hey, is it true that one of the things on this capsule is a camera, the purpose of which is to take footage and photos of their faces as they look out the window at space?
I think there's something rigged for that, but I don't know how they did it. So, but that is a big feature of this particular capsule. Like I said, where the docking collar would normally be fitted to go dock with the space station, they took that out, put this huge huge, being about 3 feet across, plexiglass dome there. It'll be the biggest single window ever flown in space, and apparently it's removable and reusable, so they can now mix and match. This is a used capsule that's flying on a used Falcon 9 booster, and now you're going to have this new feature you can stick in there, so if you want to sell somebody the best view in the universe for 3 days, there you go. You just pop it on.
Did they let any Girl Scouts or Weeblos put little science projects on this one?
I don't know. They are taking along a number of personal objects. I know that Haley R. Snow is taking along a non-fungible token, somehow some kind of music that she's taking up that she's going to play. So they've all got their little gimcracks and bits, but I don't know if there's anything from the Boy Scouts or the Weeblos, the Girl Scouts or not.
All right. Now listen, we got a couple minutes here.
Sure.
Let's change gears just a little bit. They are not going to dock with the International Space Station, but there is an International Space Station. And I'm reading now that the Russian side of that space station has turned into a massive crap hole. Is that accurate?
It's old. I mean, it's been up there since 1998. So it was
but the whole thing is old, and they're only talking about it's the Russian side that's gone all to heck.
Yeah, so that was the first module that went up. That's the power propulsion module. And as we know, Russian hardware, formerly Soviet space hardware, is very robust. It's heavily built, mostly sourced on designs they've been using for many, many years. But for some reason, in this case, where it bolts up to the rest of the space station, they're seeing a lot of cracks, which is starting to worry people. How bad these are, how bad they'll get over time is anybody's guess. They are keeping a close eye on it. We have seen a couple of leaks that are unrelated to these cracks, but increasingly this hardware is wearing out. It's been up there for over 20 years. It's been occupied for 2 decades, and things wear out. Now, what I don't know was interesting. I was looking for in this news report if any of those cracks appeared since that other Russian module that went up about a month ago, the Nauka. When that docked, if you'll recall, suddenly the thrusters began firing out of control. They couldn't get them to stop, and it flipped the thing over 1.5 times. That's a lot of stress on something that big and that flimsy, and I wonder if that may have been the source of some of these additional cracks.
All right, but also don't they have their smoke alarms are going off? There's
smoke alarms are going off.
Burning inside of it.
Very small pressurization losses over time. They haven't had an open fire yet, like they did in the Russian Mir space station, which was a scary thing many years ago. But yeah, there's increasingly stuff happening, and at this point, over half of their working time is spent on maintenance of the station, which is one reason why we're thinking within the next 6-7 years it's probably time to shut it down.
Sure sounds like it.
But, I mean, what's your alternative? You either do that or you go up at the Chinese space station, which is about a quarter or a fifth the size. Hopefully there will be some private ones going up soon. There are plans for that. And there's actually one from a company called Axiom. They're going to dock a module with the ISS in the next year, I believe. And then once the ISS is decommissioned, they plan to disconnect that Axiom module and have it become a private orbiting space station. But it remains to be seen if there's enough business to do up there to make that work or not.
All right, Rod, thank you so much. The website, pylebooks.com, the podcast, Cool Space News, and I assume this launch will be streaming live tonight. The window starts about 5 o'clock Pacific time.
Yeah, and if in doubt, go to space.com. They always carry this stuff.
Very good. All right, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Talk to you again soon. There he goes, Rod Pyle. All right, folks, we're going to get a news update from Jennifer Jones-Lee, and then Bill Handel will be here for Handel on the News Late Edition. This is KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.